If you're interested in how I transformed this garden from this to this, then stick around and watch the rest of this video. Welcome back, friends, welcome back to the homestead. So this video is going to be about this area here, which is between the two greenhouses. It's always kind of been an experimental area really, but it's time to bring it, give it a new life, I suppose. So to bring it up to speed, we've always had potatoes planted here, and the potatoes have always gone downhill. All the beds have been downhill. Garlic also has been planted here. It's over there at the moment, but moved about over the years. It's time to, with the new greenhouse now, I think it makes sense to start. Well, it's always good practice to do the beds on contours so that when the rain comes, the water soaks into the beds. So we can't do anything about the garlic this year. So what we do is up to here to here, I'm going to change it to have beds. I'm going to build those beds in this video, take the plastic off to see what it looks like underneath without the weeds. You can see how the weeds have grown around the plastic, and they will need to be dealt with. We've got things to plant out. We've got beans that need to be planted out here. We've got an excess amount of tomatoes. So the outdoor ones that will survive outdoors, we will plant out here, and I'm going to have to build some trellis for that, some sort of trellis system. You'll see that in this video as well. And basically you'll see a bit of a makeover. So I guess the only thing really to do is just to get on with it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take off the plastic, as you can see, and I'm intrigued as to how effective it's been. It looks like it's done a really good job. I can't remember how long it's been on, maybe just a couple of months, but certainly all the weeds are gone. So I'd give it a quick till, just the top couple of centimetres, just to freshen up, and then a bit of a rake. At this point I was thinking to mark out the beds, but then I suddenly realised that actually the first thing I need to do is put the trellis in, because the bed has to be underneath the trellis, and then the beds can be worked out either side. So here I'm just digging the holes, using auger for the poles, to put the support poles in. And then I've got a couple of old poles which I can use to go in. Here I'm making the T bits. So these are the bits that the strings will hang from for the tomatoes, and they are 60 centimeters wide. So the tomatoes will have a 60 centimeter gap between them. And then I'm cutting a groove into those so they can rest on top of the plank. This is what I'm doing here, is just fitting them in with a screw, and they kind of very nicely slot onto that plank. That plank's 6 meters long. The poles are now in because when I was videoing it, it didn't work, but for your information, the poles, I charred the ends, shusugi ban, the Japanese method for wood preserving. So now it's time to put the trellis up, and that is thunder and lightning you can hear in the background, so I wanted to be pretty sharpish about this, because I don't really like the idea of fixing stuff onto wooden poles that stick up into the air when there's lightning about. So I did that very quickly, and I come back later, and although I only put a couple of screws in here, I come back later and put some pretty heavy duty screws in, so it's nice and strong. And then a bit later on, once the weather clears, I come back out to hang the strings, and I've drilled holes into those T bits that go across, just to thread those strings through. And now I'll put some 45-degree bits in the corners to give it a bit more strength. And I guess a little bit more aesthetic pleasing appeal. Now it's onto the beans. While I'm there, coming into the evening now, so I just want to get those beans put in, because they're climbing up out of the, really desperately to get in the ground. So put those in. These are runner beans. They're called pulkapulpas here, flower beans. But we love our runner beans. And then obviously we harvest those green and slice them and freeze them. And I've got a few other varieties of climbing beans here. Lima beans, I think, and then a Polish variety which I can't remember the name of, but quite big beans. And I just sow those into the sunset really. So here we are the next day, making the pathways. So I'm going to use cardboard as a kind of a mulch to stop the weeds. And then on top of the cardboard I'm putting wood chips. These chips were ground up a few weeks ago, and I've been waiting for this project to start really. I'm well aware that there's still weeds under there, and that cardboard is needed to stop them coming up. It will give us a few weeks grace, just enough to smother them out. And then the path on the other side, and the bed will be in the middle obviously for the tomatoes and peppers and whatnot. Cover this over. I'll put some water on first just to dampen it down, and then cover it over with these wood chips again. But it's very practical. It's aesthetically nice as well, but it's very practical. And we've got these wood chips, so you might as well use them. It stops all the mud getting into your shoes and everything, and yeah, easy to work with. I've also got a load of leaf mold from the year before, so I decided to use that as more of a kind of a mulch, but also a soil conditioner. And as I had so much left over, I used it as a mulch around the beans as well, just to stop some water evaporation. Then it's on to planting the tomatoes. Got several varieties going out here. First of all, is some that I grew, about 4 of each variety, I think. Can't remember the exact varieties now, but it's good to get a mix. And then on the other half, the top half of the trellis there, which you'll see in a minute, I will put in some varieties which were left over from the greenhouses that Gita's mum grew. And it's good to experiment with different varieties to see what works really well outdoors. Of course, I haven't got a crystal ball. I don't know how good summer's going to be. If it's anything like last summer, we should be okay if we can do with a little less rain in autumn, in August, sorry. Garden's looking quite nice now already. When I put the tomatoes in, I put them in with a couple of handfuls of compost and a handful of the seaweed fertilizer that we've got there. Then I've got these Legend of Trushenko variety, which I specially grew. They're very popular in Ukraine. They grow to about the height of those posts, and they're very bushy and have lots of fruit on them. So I'm really intrigued as to how these do. Then it's on to sorting out the front of the greenhouse. These 2 windows operate. I'm doing this in the evening so that the windows don't open and close, but these windows will open and close automatically. So I want to keep everything clear in front of those. Any plants that grow and weeds that grow under will get stuck as they open and close. So again, more cardboard, more wood chips, nice thick layer of cardboard there, and build some other paths around these beds to finish them off. And then we're left with this other section. So in front of the other 2 windows, actually a few weeks ago, I sowed a load of wild flower seeds, and they've grown. They come up nicely. They could take a couple of years to really establish. So I just need to pick out the odd weed that's already there. So we have a lot of what's it called? Goosefoot and Brave Soldier, I think it's called. And other bits and pieces. So now I'm just making the paths, and then I'm going to be left with kind of a funny shaped triangle bed in the middle, which you'll see me work on a bit, but just to get as much access as properly, I'll build a path down there. I've actually run out of cardboard at this point, so I can't build the path straight away, so I'm going to concentrate my efforts on the bed in the middle, which needs some digging over. I mean, the time-lapse makes it look really easy, but actually it's very hard compacted soil here, so it really does need, first time, a really good dig over, except for this part here where it's very loose. So all I do is I don't dig that over if I don't need to. I just get some air in there. Good layer of fertilizer in there, again the same seaweed fertilizer, and then put some compost on. This is actually called Malnazemi, which is black soil, but it is just peat. I couldn't get my regular compost that I really like from the shop, they'd sold out, so use that instead. Now we're going to plant this up, and I'm going to put some pumpkins in, start with some wood ash and some manure, cow manure. These are Crown Prince pumpkins going in. around the corners, and I'll just let these spread out. Bit of risk, but what could possibly go wrong, I suppose. But anyway, my thinking is that they will sprawl under things that have already grown up higher than the pumpkins by the time they get established. So, and then I'm going to put in some courgettes here in between. They can grow around the pumpkins or underneath, whatever. They should be fine. And then in between, I find some calendula that I've got left over just for a bit of colour and maybe a bit of insect protection. So I put those in as well, and I'll put some sunflowers in the middle, just micro ones. Hopefully they won't affect the growing of the other bits. Oh, I've got a few peppers left over, so I'll stick those in as well. Good watering, and then that's done. And then onto the paths. Okay, there we are, all done. Looking good. A couple of notes just to kind of conclude the video, really. Obviously these are pumpkins and they will sprawl around and cover the area, otherwise this looks a bit bare. And yes, I would be covering it with more plants, and maybe in different years we'll have different arrays of different plants. But my hope is that the pumpkins, the Crown Prince pumpkins, will spread around and cover the soil with their leaves. I think I explained their wild plant seeds that we've sown there, so we'll see what happens with that. That should look good. If you remember a mistakes video I made last year, I talked about wanting more pollinators to come around to the greenhouse, so that's to attract that. Didn't get all the potato beds finished. Couple of reasons. Well, lack of material, which we've literally just started to trim. What we do is all that material over there from nettles and ground elder, we trim that, and we will drag that all over and build windrows of weeds and then plant the potatoes into that. You can see the first one from the material here, and then there'll be a path and a windrow and a path and a windrow, etc. But that will come, almost a part 2, I suppose. But you know, the main bulk of it, the reason for doing this was because of all the extra stuff we had to plant. So it wasn't originally on our project list for this year, it wasn't on our radar, but it's done now, and I'm pleased how it looks. And we'll see how it functions over the coming this season. You know, stick around, watch our tour videos, and you'll see it grow. Oh, I made a small mistake with the sweet corn, a bit too close together, but let's call it an experiment and see how they get on. Yeah, and the rest will come in time. So there we are. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Do check out some other videos that we've made if you enjoyed this one. There are lots of more, and I will give you updates as the year goes on. Do like the video if at any point you liked it. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon.